everyone, super excited today. My buddy MTG Muddstah got to do a special preview card yesterday. While I personally didn't get a special preview card from WotC, I thought to myself, which card would I want to preview if I did? And the answer that I came back to was Lyra Dawnbringer. This card has me super excited. But if you haven't checked out MTG Muddstah's channel, I definitely recommend you do so. If nothing else, at least to see the cool card that he got to spoil yesterday. But yeah, so Lyra Dawnbringer has me super excited. And yes, I checked the pronunciation, so unless dictionary.com is steering me wrong on this one, it's Lyra Dawnbringer and not Lyra Dawnbringer.
Lyra.
So why is Lyra Dawnbringer so awesome? Well, it checks a lot of different boxes. Let's go through them one by one and find out why she's going to be so awesome. First, her overall power is great. A 5-mana 5/5 flying first strike lifelink reminds me of another awesome 5-mana angel, Baneslayer Angel. Baneslayer Angel was one of the best creatures of its era, and it holds a special place in the hearts of many, including myself. Standard-wise, I don't think Lyra will have quite the same impact as Baneslayer Angel did when it came out, simply because other creatures in Standard have also gotten a lot stronger, but I still think it's very playable. Flying in lifelink ensures that you can probably win a life race really easily. Its standard play will of course depend on the meta and more importantly what removal is available. I definitely think it's going to see some play, especially post-rotation. But what about those interested in Commander? Commander is where Lyra can really shine. Again, her power level is great. I've been messing around with an Avacyn Guardian Angel deck for a while, and getting a 5-mana 5-power flyer is really good. But in this case, we've traded in the Vigilance for lifelink. What I've noticed is, when I get Avacyn down on turn 4 or turn 5, depending on acceleration, no one else really has anything that big on the board yet. And for at least a couple turns, you probably have the biggest thing out there. It's going to be really hard for an opponent to attack into you profitably if you have Lyra on the board, let alone any other angels to go with her. You don't see First Strike as much in Commander, but First Strike is a really big deterrent if someone's trying to attack into you. And this brings us to our second point, which is her other ability, which makes her a great tribal commander. I love this ability. As a Commander player, I want to see rewards for playing certain tribes, and this is the reward that I've been looking for to play Angels. Now, from WotC's point of view, Angels are one of those tribes that can help you sell a set. You throw some flashy Angels in a set, and the sales for that set should at least be reasonable, due to the casual and Commander appeal. People already like playing Angels, so giving them even more reason to do so is going to be a win for everyone. The +1/+1 part of her ability will be reasonable, but what really makes it interesting and sets it apart is giving lifelink to all of your other Angels. This means that if you have Lyra on the board, you should be gaining a ton of life on your attacks, and also means that you should be able to use some interesting Life Matters cards. So let's talk about the deck building for a second. The easy part of building this deck, jam all your favorite Angels into a deck together with Lyra at the helm, and I think you'll be in pretty good shape. You guys can check out my Red-White Angels deck tech video for a who's who on awesome Angels, most of which are white. Sadly, if Lyra is your commander, no Gisela, Aurelia, or Retachroma, but everything else in my Red-White deck list should be playable if Lyra is your commander. So that's the easy part. Now let's talk about the life gain implications. This is what's really going to make Lyra unique as a commander. Giving all of your creatures lifelink is really powerful, especially if you're playing powerful creatures, which Angels are. Here's some awesome cards that care about you having a lot of life. First up, Aetherflux Reservoir. Spend 50 life, probably kill a player. I don't see any reason why you can't get to 80 or more life with this deck. Why not spend some of it to just take someone out of the game at instant speed? Next up, Felidar Sovereign. 40 life on your upkeep, you win! The hardest part though is keeping Felidar in play. You probably will need to have some protection around to make sure that he survives back to your turn. So, some other cards, I certainly wouldn't say no to a Rock's Faithmender in this deck, as well as a Crested Sunmare. Alhammaret's Archive also seems pretty interesting if you're really wanting to focus on the life gain. Also with Alhammaret's, if you get some other source of card draw going, you'll be able to double up on your card draw as well. Serra Ascendant, also going to be really good in this deck. Angelic Accord is a card that I'm pretty excited to check out. I've seen it show up in the Kimball list sometimes, and I think it's going to be right at home in this deck. It's going to give all those Angel tokens lifelink, which means that those Angel tokens can produce more Angel tokens. Plus, they're also going to get +1/+1. I think that's definitely going to be an inclusion in this deck. Archangel of Thune is going to be crazy good in this deck. It's going to be really easy to start putting +1/+1 counters on all your creatures. It's a little janky, but Sunbond is a card that's worth consideration. If you can dodge removal for a couple turns, then you'll be one-shotting people in no time. Some other interesting cards, Well of Lost Dreams. This is the card draw that white so badly needs. Do anything you can to tutor for this card. Enlightened Tutor, Inventor's Fair. If your deck can support it, even a Planar Bridge is not the worst thing. Any way that you can find to get Well of Lost Dreams into play for this deck is going to help you a lot. I can't guarantee that it'll be the best for everyone, but Book of Wrath is certainly interesting. You will need to tap out a lot of mana, so it just depends on how fast your meta is, and or if you can time it after someone else plays a board wipe. But it's definitely worth taking a look at if you need card draw. Some other deck building considerations: mono white is the hardest color to build in Commander because of its lack of card draw and tutors. But some things that mono white does well: you will have access to the mana doublers like Gauntlet of Power, Cage Sun, and Extra Planar Lens. That can give you a nice little mana boost. White also finds equipments really well, and typically if I play mono white, I do find myself leaning on equipments pretty heavily because things like Mask of Memory and Sword of Fire and Ice also give you additional sources of card draw. Sword of the Animist is also really good. Sword of Feast and Famine really good. So white's biggest strength is probably tutoring for equipments. So I think you'll want at least a few of them with some of the tutors to go with them. White also has the best board wipes. Take your pick, there's some good ones. I personally have been playing Austere Command in just about every white deck I've been playing because of the utility, but Hour of Revelation is great, Planar Cleansing is great. The one thing that I would say, white, and especially the Angels package, is really good at reanimating creatures, so I would probably steer clear of Final Judgment and Descend Upon the Sinful, unless you have some specific meta call where you're really running into a lot of indestructible decks. And you really need the exile effect off of one of those. Otherwise, I would try to go with any of the destroy board wipes, because there's a high likelihood that you'll be able to reanimate your creatures one way or another, with the creatures that we're already going to be playing in this deck. White also has really good spot removal in Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile, and I also really like the gotcha cards like Selfless Squire and Comeuppance. So like anything, you'll want to play some board wipes, a little bit of spot removal, a little bit of protection with Comeuppance, Teferi's Protection, things like that. Everything else will probably be Mana Ramp and Angels. Back to the checklist of why Lyra is so awesome. Reason number 3, nostalgia. Lyra Dawnbringer is an awesome callback to Rhea Dawnbringer. Rhea is such an iconic Magic card from an era that is long gone. I remember the first time I saw Rhea, my buddy had a Reanimator deck, and I was just blown away with how cool the deck was and how cool Rhea was as a card. So after that, I mostly played Reanimation-style decks for years and years, in casual extended, usually two-headed giant. Personally, I prefer the 10th edition art on Rhea, but I wouldn't be offended if you liked the original. Or would I? But yeah, Lyra is a great callback to an iconic card, and even though it doesn't do exactly the same thing, it does enough other really cool things to get me super excited about it. And the final awesome thing about this card is the art. I love the art on this card. The brilliant colors, the majesty, the giant spear, the background, just all of it is great. I really like the lighting on the wings and the background. And I also really like the colors on the accents of her armor. I thought that was a really cool design. And of course, you can't deny her awesome mermaid hair. It's long and perfect, and I know some girls that would kill to have hair like that. This thing is going to look awesome in a foil. I'm probably going to have to buy a foil version. But yeah, I love the art on this card. The art is by Chris Ron, and I think he hit an absolute home run with this thing. When I saw the text-only spoiler of Lyra Dawnbringer, it didn't do that much for me, but once I saw the art and the card frame and tied everything together, it got me really excited, and that's what inspired me to make this video. I really just wanted a chance to talk about this card for a few minutes. So I'm super excited waiting for Lyra Dawnbringer to get released. And as I mentioned, we'll definitely be playing her on the channel. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. Oh, also, I give the flavor text an 8.5 out of 10. It's not 10th edition Rhea, and it's not original Achroma, but it's a lot better than the flavor text we've been seeing lately. At least I think so. You are not alone. You never were.